I think white Americans have not learned what it means to have enough, so that they're never satisfied. They're always wanting more. And you cannot always have more, because that means someone else has less. I really dislike Donald Trump. I don't like Nazis. I never did. And I dislike the way that people are trying to teach hate, because hate has to be taught. And people forget that you don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm going to hate. Someone teaches you to hate.
I mean, as somebody who deals in the power of words, you used one of the most powerful words right then, right next to Donald Trump, Nazi. Just explain to me why you used that word.
I don't know what other word we could use. The United States in which I was born, and for whatever countries mean, and it means less and less to me, but I'm an American. The capital of the United States hasn't been attacked since 1820, which was attacked actually by you people, by the British, and you lost because we became an independent nation. But we hadn't been attacked since 1820 until January the 6th. If that's not a Nazi, we can discuss, then what he is.
I mean, let me go with your description for the sake of argument. I mean, obviously, Donald Trump's defenders will say that's a terrible thing to say, and he's unpatriotic and all the rest of it. But we don't want to argue about that.
No, we don't.
Let us say that he's, for the sake of argument, a bad person. Why is he back in play when America, last time around decided to kick him out?
We decided to elect Joe Biden. I think that was a good thing.
Do you think there is a racist backlash right now that is linked? Is it the same struggle, the one that you were fighting?
I don't think it's the same struggle. I think it's just another step in that struggle. That racism is a bad idea. And a lot of people are, well, one, we've sent a lot of our young men and women off to war to do horrible things. The United States has been at war since World War II. We had the Korean War, we had Vietnam, we had Afghanistan. We just got out of Afghanistan. And I think it's time that the United States realize that war is probably not one of the better ideas that we have. And then we bring these people home. We've made them shoot people, and then we bring them back. And the next thing you hear is that, well, he had health issues. Well, if you send him off and teach him to murder, what kind of issue do you think? Of course he's screaming in the middle of the night. He knows what he's done. And we need to quit that.
So do you think America's lost its sense of right and wrong?
I'm not wholly sure that it ever had a sense of right, but it certainly has embraced a sense of wrong, yes.
I mean, all nations, all cultures have a sense of morality. I mean, what you seem to be saying is, at least in the 1960s, you were able to...
Remember when I told you that white America, generally the colonialists, generally the biggest problem with America is greed. Remember when I told you about this group of people don't understand a definition of equality. They don't understand that, because to them it means that they are losing, and it means that they should take more. And they don't understand by taking more, somebody takes less. Yolanda Cornelia, probably known as Nikki Giovanni, in an interview, she really described the greed within the United States, something that I'm really interested in, because when I get to look at the history of Black Americans, I get to understand the extent of greed that this group of people had, to the extent that they lose their humanity, they lose understanding, they lose empathy. Somehow, somewhere, we have these scholars who describe this type of people as people who are soulless. Because when you are a human being, you understand that when you grab more, this includes land, this includes taking labor from people, you rip them off, you rip the generation off, because we have people, generations to come, that depend on these people. And perfect group of these people are Black Americans. For the generations and generations and generations, the white Americans have always been misusing the Black Americans. That includes taking everything that belonged to Black people, and even today, stealing Black talent and making it look like that the ones who were doing all these great things. Brothers and sisters, I want us to watch this video by Giovanni, I think it's important for us to understand her perspective, because sometimes when we come out and talk about these things, some people think that we are just talking for the sake of just talking. But I want to let you know that these are things that happen in real time and happen in real life, because Black Americans have gone through these things and they're seeing through white Americans. They're seeing the greed, because these are the group of people that benefit from all these things. But then they will come out and tell you that, oh, you just need to work out. You just need to work hard. And then they talk about meritocracy. They talk about that America rewards hard work, but they don't tell you the structural issues. They don't tell you the truth about how the game has always been rigged against the Black Americans and how it is unfair for Black people. I'm not trying to play the victim mentality, as some people say. But this is just the truth, because if you are a person who listens to history and understand and sees through history, you know what I'm saying is truth. So brothers and sisters, I'm gonna let you watch the video and then I'll be back. I'll be sharing my thoughts in regards to this. So let's watch the video. I'll be back.
Articulate what was right and wrong. Was it obvious to you then that while you could end segregation, you couldn't end racism?
It was obvious because segregation is no colored allowed, whites only. And racism is it's an ingrained situation that we've taught these youngsters to respond to, that white people, and I'm not picking on white, all of them, but quite a few of them think they have a right to have more than everybody. And I think we have to teach them, and I don't know that we can, it's not my responsibility at this point, that there is something called enough. And I think white Americans have not learned what it means to have enough, so that they're never satisfied. They're always wanting more. And you cannot always have more, because that means someone else has less.
I mean, is it about wanting more, or is it about people who feel they don't have enough? You know, that because a lot of that sort of drive in the 2016 election was about poor white America feeling the country, the system had failed it.
No, I think it was about them not reading enough books. I think we need a few more libraries. And I think we need to realize that this nation belongs to an earth. It belongs to a planet. And on this planet are living things, are life forms. And we have to have some respect for all of the life forms.
If there are other people who share your anger at contemporary politics, how does poetry help?
Poetry helps because poetry has invented, and we've birthed, I guess is a better word, we have birthed the science that has led to the dreams that has created some of the solutions. Not all of them, but some of them. Poetry is the one that says, okay, why can't I go into I want to go into outer space. Science didn't invent the poems to make it possible. Poetry invented the idea that made the science possible. Or science says, why does Franklin Roosevelt, who was not a bad guy, and he had the sense to marry Eleanor, who was a great woman, why does he have polio? Why is he spending his life in a wheelchair? Poetry says we can find some way of controlling that. And then the scientists say, and they're going to be doctor scientists in this way, well, let's find out what's causing this. Poetry has given birth to the best dreams of mankind. It's poetry that says all people were created equal. It wasn't science, it was poetry. So if we could get everybody reading, probably not me because I was a little angry at that point, but some of the nicer poems, then maybe we'll have better people. I don't know.
I mean, you've been fascinated in recent years with the Earth, of the science of the Earth and the planets. What has sparked that? I mean, you've been up as well.
Yes.
To see the curvature of the Earth.
Yes. I think, I would like for everybody to be able to do that, because it would probably give people a little more respect for the planet upon which we live. But I think, again, we need to start with preschool, pre-kindergarten, teaching the life forms that we call human beings are, in fact, earthlings. So when people say, who are you? Your answer is, I'm an earthling. So that as you or your children or your grandchildren prepare for life in the galaxy. I'm not just talking about the space, but because we can all do the space station, that's not hard. But as we go on into the galaxy, as we meet other life forms, not to mention as we stay on this earth and meet other life forms, we are responding to the fact that we are all sharing this. We're all earthlings, whether we are in the water or in the air. We all have to have water, we all have to have air, and we all have to have some level of food, which means we are all some level of predator. But we can control, we don't have to be greedy. Having enough leaves something for everyone.
Now, in this book, this collection of your poems, there is a short bio of Nikki Giovanni to take us back to the little girl. A long time ago, a little girl sat in the window of the bedroom she shared with her older sister and read by finger flashlight. Now it goes on. She first fell in love with words, then they somehow seemed to fall in love with her. Just tell me what happened.
I wish I do, but it's been a lovely love affair, and we have carried it on, Words and I, all of these years. And I keep looking for what else are we learning? Because the only people we really don't like are the people with words. I happen to be a Christian, and we killed Jesus, we killed Socrates. We killed people not because they did anything, but because they said something. So we know words are very powerful. We know that we killed Martin Luther King, we killed Malcolm, and I'm just talking about the United States. We did it because they used words, which are the most powerful thing that we have. I daydream because that's all I have are words. I'm not talented. My sister was really pretty. She's gone now, but I had a really pretty sister. And I'm a baby sister. If you have an older sister who's really pretty, you look and you say, okay, I'm not really pretty. And you start to eliminate what is it that I have. And all I had was observation, which is what I still have. And I still observe, I still watch. And some of the things that I watch, I find regrettable would not even be a strong enough word.
I mean, you have a poem, again, about yourself called Nikki Rosa, which I want to hear a little bit of.
Childhood remembrances are always a drag if you're Black. You always remember things like living in Woodlawn with no inside toilet. And if you become famous or something, they never talk about how happy you were to have your mother all to yourself, and how good the water felt when you got your bath from one of those big tubs that folk in Chicago barbecue in. And somehow, when you talk about home, it never gets across how much you understood their feelings, as the whole family attended meetings about Hollydale. And even though you remember, your biographers never understand your father's pain as he sells his stock and another dream goes. And though you're poor, it isn't poverty that concerns you. And though they fought a lot, it isn't your father's drinking that makes any difference, but only that everybody is together, and you and your sister have happy birthdays and very good Christmases. And I really hope no white person ever has cause to write about me, because they never understand Black love is Black wealth, and they'll probably talk about my hard childhood and never understand that all the while I was quite happy.
Fantastic. I mean, have you been patronized by sort of white interviewers your whole life? Is that why you write that?
Oh, I don't know that I was so happy. I think happiness is a decision you make, because if you ask me what was I doing on Saturday night at about 11 o'clock, I was listening to my father hit my mother. And that is not a happiness. And fortunately, I had a grandmother, and Grandpapa was a wonderful man. And I asked if I could live with them.
But how did you feel about having run away? Because, I mean, you'd said, you'd either have to kill him or run away.
Or leave, yeah.
Did you do the right thing?
I did the right thing. Why is it that the man feels that he can mistreat someone who's trying to love him? What's on his mind that this is the way you treat somebody? Because it's not the way you treat somebody. So no matter what else happened outside of that home, you're supposed to smile when you come in. My favorite movie is The Godfather. And when he loses his job, you remember? And he stops to get a pear for his wife. He's a good man because that's all he has is this pear. And so that's what he's going to bring. He's not going to bring any crap about I was mistreated today. You don't know what they said to me. Oh, I'm being underpaid. None of that crap. But he has a pear, and he brings it to her. And that's what love is. I learned that from my grandfather, by the way. My grandmother loved pineapple. And I always remember that. And pineapple isn't always in season. But when he came home, as he would come down the street, and just as he was turning up to our home, if they had pineapple, it was in season. Her name was Luvinia. And he would say, Luvinia, they had pineapple. And you could hear in his voice the joy that he could bring his wife pineapple. And all that I know about love, I learned from listening to him being that pleased to be able to give his wife a pineapple. And that's what love is. So that's what makes it important.
That's very moving.
Yes.
I want to come back to sort of the current day, sadly, and the things that people might want to write about now. I mean, we talked about Trump at the beginning, but I mean, in 2020, you did a poem for the Biden campaign about voting.
I
Beseeching
just
people
did
to
it for
vote.
voting. I didn't do it for Biden.
It was just for voting.
Well, we have local elections. We have the mayor. People forget the little things matter too. I'm glad that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won, but I wrote vote because you are a citizen and because there is a great woman who will break my heart. I'll sit here and cry on your podcast named Fannie Lou Hamer, who created the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Mississippi, they must have had, 2 cents, but she found a way to bring these people not found a way, she was a great organizer. And she got enough money together from her group to rent a bus to go to the Atlantic City convention of the Democrats. And Lyndon Johnson was president because Jack Kennedy had been assassinated. And she said to the Credentials Committee that they should be seated, not the traditional Mississippi Party, that they represented Mississippi. And of course, that's going to be, the Democrats need the black vote. There's no question about that. And so Lyndon Johnson was trying to find a way to make it all right because Joe Lyndon did things like that. And so he ultimately offered Mrs. Hamer 2 votes, 2 seats. And I will quote Ms. Hamer on that. She said, "We did not come here for no 2 seats." And she got back on her bus, she and her people, got back on the bus and went back to Mississippi. Well, when the bus crossed the Mississippi line, the sheriff stopped the bus and they pulled her off. And it was one of the most horrible beatings ever. I mean, they beat that woman. And I've always said, no matter what, if any part of me is alive, I'm going to vote. If my fingernails are growing, take a fingernail and say, this is Nikki, she's going to vote. Because people have paid such a high price for Black Americans to vote. And that's what that poem says. We are citizen. It's not a hug. It's not a kiss. It's not chocolate or vanilla. It's a vote. And you must vote. And that's what I wanted to say there.
And it's the same argument this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
For everybody.
For everybody. It really is.
Do you think it is a good thing for Black people when you end up with a Black president or a Black vice president or a Asian prime minister? Do you think the racist unleashing that happens when those people from minorities get to power?
Well, one, we're not
worth it?
minorities. Let's start with the basic. We're not minorities. And 2, I think that we are all earthlings. We're not minorities. Where I come from, Black people are the majority, and that's one of the problems. There are some white people who say, I don't want Black people to have anything. I don't want them to be citizens, but we are. We in America, no matter what this small group that we keep talking about, and that junk about the minority is Donald Trump and his group. We are the majority. 75% of Americans don't agree with that. And so I really get upset with you journalists, or with the journalists, I would say you journalists, always talking about the covers of magazines, or what did he say today? And people say, well, Donald Trump sells newspapers or magazines or whatever. I don't know what he sells, but I know that they overplay what he does. And I think that it's time that we quit having to listen to that.
I'm a little confused about how optimistic you are. I mean, because you are, in many ways, your generation proved that you can change the world for the better.
Mm-hmm.
But you're very pessimistic about Earthlings.
Just humans.
So do you think this generation of young people can save the world, can make it a better place, or do you think it's forgotten?
I don't think it's a question of save or not save at this point. I like the young generation. I like the fact that we have transgender students who are standing up for the right to create themselves, which is really that's all that amounts to. I think that their interest in politics, whether Ukraine's or Russian, Israelis or Gaza, it's really nice to see the youngsters out there in the street saying, this is wrong.
I mean, you must get a great kick out of watching young people to have been a teacher for as long as you have been. But I also wanted to ask you about Virginia Tech, because obviously I mentioned the massacre by a student you had taught and had identified as a bad piece of work.
Yeah.
How do you explain, reconcile, think about the idea of there being evil young people amongst you?
If they're good young people, they have to be evil young people. And if they're young people that we love, they have to be young people that we hate. Because life is a two-way street. And everybody wants to make it, a one-way. It's not. There are no one-way streets. And so in the case of Mr. Cho, I don't know. I just felt, and I'm just a poet. And so all I have are words, and all I have are my feelings. And I was just looking, I teach writing, and it was just like, no, this won't do. I'm reading this guy, and it's like, no, something is not working. And so I asked him, because I was nice enough about it. I said, Mr. Cho, I don't think I'm your teacher for you. I can help you get into another class if you'd like, or, tell me what you would like to do, and we'll see if we can work out. He said, I don't want another class. And I said, well, Mr. Cho, I don't think I've been making myself clear, because I said, I will not teach you. You will leave my class. Now, we can work this out in any number of other ways, but I teach on Tuesday and Thursday. I taught on Tuesday and Thursday. I said, this is Tuesday. On Thursday, one of us will not be in this class. And he said to me, well, what you going to do? I said, Mr. Cho, I didn't have a job when I came to Virginia Tech, and I'll walk out and not have a job. But you and we're in my classroom. I mean, I don't have private conversation with students. And he said, oh, you'll never quit. And I said, Mr. Cho, you don't know me, but I know you. And this is what's going to happen on Thursday. One of us will not be here. And I dismissed the class. And I went to my department head and I said, I've got a student. And I told her about it. I said, somebody's got to go. And she said, oh, I don't think you understand him. And I said, no, I don't think you understand that I am not going to be in space with this person. Now, on Thursday, either you have gotten him out of my class, or Thursday by noon, there will be my resignation under your door. Now, you may not believe it. He didn't believe it, but I do. I know I will be gone. So it's on you.
And when it happened, what did you think?
When I heard about it, I was flying in. I was someplace else. I don't remember where. And I was flying in. So it was a Monday, and that I can tell you. And so I know he wasn't looking for me, because I'm never on campus on Monday. It wasn't personal. And they said, oh, my God, the plane was coming in. And one of the students on the plane said, oh, my God, 21 people have been killed at Virginia Tech. And all of us on the plane said, oh, you must have that wrong. It must be one or two, which was bad enough. But that's the way we looked at it. It must be one or two. But by the time we actually got landed, the numbers were going up. So I went on home. And, of course, by then, the news is on, and you knew. But I knew as I'm driving. I said, oh, this is Mr. Cho. I wish I had taken it up further. I just knew he couldn't come in my class or my office. And if I had taken it maybe to the provost, but I doubt that they would have kicked him out of school or anything. And it breaks my heart because several of the students I knew, and one of my very favorite students, I always wanted to tell his mother, which I did, and I knew his name is Matt, and I knew that Matty got shot in the chest because he would never run. And it still makes me incredibly sad. And I just don't know what I could have done. And I was sorry I couldn't do more, but I got a call from the president's office, and Sandy Smith, who was his assistant, said, well, Nikki, we need you to close convocation. I didn't know we were having a convocation. And we waited. The president, George W. Bush, that Bush was there. And so I said yes, and I was trying to think of what to do. And I realized that what we needed at that point was a definition, and I'm big on definitions. We are Virginia Tech, not this. And I was amazed that your queen had, in fact, watched it. I wasn't even thinking about the queen. I was thinking about the 10,000 kids in front of me. And when she came to the United States, she asked to meet me, and I went over.
What did she say?
Hello. That same thing I did. I said, ma'am, how are you? She said, it was a lovely poem. And it was one of those. And I just thought it was really nice because I had no idea that the queen, you're already sad because you've lost people, and that's it. It still makes me sad. I every time I think about Maddie, it just makes me really sad. I know that there were 32 other people, but you only cry for what you know. And I had no concept that the queen might be sitting watching me read a poem. I had no idea, and I'm glad I didn't, because it would have made me nervous.
I mean, that's the extraordinary thing about poems, isn't it? I mean, they can touch people.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great. One thing that probably you need to understand and keep it at the back of your mind is that greed, a person who is used to taking a lot, doesn't understand or doesn't know the significance of sharing, doesn't know the significance of equity, because to them, they understand that being equal means them losing their power. And this has always been the perfect definition when any other group is trying to deal with white folks, because they are used to take more. They are used to misuse. They are used to waste. They are used to think that they deserve more than any other group, right? So I think it's important for us to get to understand these issues and get to see and know that these things happen in real time, right? A person who is used to take more and more and more doesn't understand values of sharing, doesn't understand values of equity, doesn't understand values of morality. When I get to look at back history, and I look at history back with a lot of pain, I look at back history with a lot of, I don't even know how to describe it. But if you're a person who understands history, you know that there is so much immorality that has been done to black people. First, you make this group of people to work for you for the longest time. You make this group of people to dedicate their entire life serving you. But all you give them is try to take every opportunity that has ever belonged to them. When a black person tries to be great, you always find a way of taking it away from them. And this has been the history of black Americans. When black Americans try to talk about reparations, when black Americans get out the way and try just to find what's fair for them, you are always trying to get in the way for that. When black people have their own platforms that they talk about things that build them, you always have a way of talking about how black people exclude you from their things. and that's not equity. And to that's not fair. But you're not seeing not thousands of years, but like 600 years ago, when you had all the opportunity, you had the head start, but you didn't care about the black person. Well, in fact, you prayed that they remain where they are. That's why you people don't understand the term equity. Probably you should check it on the dictionary. Is that school is so much important and was so much important. But you people didn't want black people to go to school. While your kids were going to school, you made black kids work on the farms together with their parents. During those times, jobs were hiring only people who have gone to school. But hey, see, black people could not get that because they don't have the papers. They don't have the keys to success. So all this tells you that it has always been unfair for black Americans. They have to go through that harsh path. They have to face all these challenges. They have to go through all those things to reach where you are. And as the saying goes, it takes a black man to work as thrice as hard as a white person to be in a space where a white person is. That tells you a lot. That tells you that there is no fairness. That tells you that there is no equity in this place. Let's talk about the black security in the United States. So many times, black people wake up in the morning not sure whether they will go back home safely, especially those who commute, go to work. Because anytime a problem can land on you. Because to them, black people, they are always the ones who are always causing all these problems. Yes. So it is so much hard to convince a person when you are black. It's so hard to convince a person that you don't do these things that these people accuse you to be doing. And that's how America itself wants to run. It wants to run in a way that it keeps on painting a black person as a bad person, while on the background destroying all the opportunities that a black person could have had. Because you understand, when you destroy the image of a person, you destroy their market, you destroy how other people perceive them. So when these other groups gets into the United States, they already have a perception. They have a perception that is not true about black people. So it takes a lot to see black people wake up, go up above their expectations that these people place them. They just saw black people as merely black people. There's so much a lot that was promised to black people that was never delivered. It is because they understand that when this was delivered, ain't no way white people could see black people the same place. Because blacks would have done so much. Understand that with the opportunity that white folks have, that's it. So that's what's happening, brothers and sisters. I really don't know where you're watching it from, but let me know what you think about this video. As you know, I'm your host and pre-Zintage Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salud.